Shedding's really interesting, and that's why we got into it. And most sheep that we've become accustomed to have wool that you have to shear off. If you want to learn about shedding, just look at all the goats, all the horses, all the cattle in New Zealand, and you'll work out about shedding. The sheep that we farm are a really peculiar little bunch of animals. And so all you have to do to learn about shedding is look at your cattle. They grow a hairy coat over the end of summer and into autumn so they can retain that warmth during the winter. And then as it comes into spring, there's more feed around and they start shedding that fleece. In sheep, it's fleece. Cattle, we just call it hair. There's hormones circulating around in the animal which start that shedding process. And they're also tied up in lactation and seasonality in general. So my friends in Australia, where I come from, they were breeding Wiltshires and they really struggled because they wanted to lamb in autumn. And Wiltshires do not really want to lamb in autumn because they're a very seasonal animal. Australia uses aseasonal animals like merinos and poledouses to get more lambs in Australia. And often the Border Leicester breeders in Australia used to struggle trying to produce the first cross ewes. But those hormones that surge around in there and set shedding off so this time of year, those animals you saw out there have all lost their fleece. Now it's summer, you don't want your jacket on, but you want to start regrowing some so you've got some warmth and protection for the winter. Now I'll probably stop at that point. Has anybody got any questions about shedding? The wool just sticks around in there. It's got a little clump in the skin, and then in the new season comes along and a little fibre with a point on it pushes that out, and that's the shedding process. Andrew tells me it was 13 years since we had a bit of a talk way out on the coast out there.
Yeah.
And that was when these guys started on that journey. That sounds about right, because I had a student work with me. She went up to Massey and did a PhD, and a lot of that work was trying to work out where the New Zealand sheep industry could go, and she did it on mathematical modelling, because you just can't study those changes over a short enough period of time. To turn your flock over to a fully Wiltshire flock from a North Island Romney flock, she reckoned it was about 15 years. And I've been here 30 years, and I wouldn't base an argument to tell you that's what you should do 15 years in the future. If you can pick what the future is going to look like 15 years time, then yeah, good luck to you, because I'm not going to put numbers on it. There are some little calculations in there that tell you how much that's going to be worth. But yeah, 30 years ago I thought wool might be something worth working on. But here we are today talking about sheep without wool. The journey should take you about 15 years, you reckon, but I reckon once you get down to the numbers of woolly sheep you've got left here, just put a lot on the truck and feed the rest better. These guys started off with a Lamb Supreme and picked up some other genes in there. Is that where the Myomax came from?
Mm-hmm.
The Myomax came from Texels. So you could pick up some beneficial genes by grading up. And, existing sheep in New Zealand are accustomed to the environment, so they might have some genes in them worth having. New Zealand Wiltshires were a fairly small gene pool when they came into the country, but now there's a lot of breeders and they've been graded up from a lot of different sources. So there's some, a bit wider genetic variation there. I didn't mean to be rude about being old, but you are best off to just buy some Wiltshires and start breeding from there.
He already has them. So.
Yeah, so be careful about shedding as a lamb, because if you look at a lamb that's born as a triplet, it will not be as well shed as a lamb that's born a single. Earlier lambs also shed better. So if you're looking at a little runt and thinking, gee, that's not shed very well, there may be an evolutionary protection mechanism. That lamb thinks, I'm not doing too well, I'm going to hold on to my jacket and take it into next winter and shed it the spring after when I start to look healthier like these animals out here. So there is a strong relationship. Singles shed better, well-grown lambs shed better, triplets and runts don't shed as well.